Python, NumPy, that type of stuff for being able to do real algorithms on top of this stuff?
Sure. So we have something we developed called Wukong, which is a Ruby library for interacting with Hadoop. And it supports Python. It supports some of these other tools. I'm not sure about R. But it's a way that, yes, you can have that kind of simpler language interface into something like Hadoop. It works. One of the key advantages that it brings to the table as well is not only can you write a Hadoop job with it, but you can also write a simple program that'll work in stream in a more real-time manner. So bring the computation to the data as it's coming to the database.
Sort of a follow-on to that question, how accessible is the Hadoop layer to other interface methods? For instance, we do a lot of prototyping in Cascalog. Would we be able to run that sort of interface on top of the Hadoop stack that you guys run?
Gotcha. I don't know. Today, I couldn't say that we support it directly and quickly and easily, but it's the kind of thing that we could bring to the table if we were in discussions. Our CTO's in the crowd, and he can answer that more clearly. But if it's similar to your question, at least in how do you pipe something simple like Python or Ruby into Hadoop, we have an interface that can work for that.
Well, since you're kind of differentiate yourself from other companies such as that you augment the data, the next kind of logical step for me is to kind of have sophisticated algorithms run on top of that augmented data, whether it's classification, clustering, or something like that. So are you doing it? Are you thinking about it?
Like offering that as a service or something like that?
Yeah,
or
additional service.
Not today. I think over time that could be a direction to take things. How I look at our solution today, it's it's a technology solution. It's ultimately a platform for doing work with data. It's very raw. There are going to be a number of use cases that build up on that, whether someone's looking to do clustering or things like this. And there's also going to be more and more use cases that stamp out from particular types of data people like to integrate within something like that. So I think we'll be able to make things more cookie cutter over time, but for now it's still very kind of raw and let people use it as they'd like.
And since we have time for kind of more questions, is the type of data you augment, do the user needs to define what kind of each field is, or do you kind of figure it out yourselves?
We have some smart schema technology we developed called Infochimps Simple Schema, which is a way that we categorize data when we manage it within our platform. We don't have any much for on the way of auto detecting or auto kind of categorizing of random data sets, some of the entity extraction that those guys were talking about. We don't do much of that today. But we do have a really simple, intuitive schema that we can connect up to data as it's on its way in.
Yeah.
Sure. If you have, part of the value in the data often tends to be combining, with let's say, clickstream analytics, perhaps behavioral data with perhaps more interesting business operations, transactional information. Are you looking at creating a hybrid solution which might allow for both external and internal data sets? Sort of where is the boundary? Is this a solution to be deployed inside the enterprise?
Correct.
How do you see that?
Absolutely. For us, that's the dream vision is your ability to connect your internal data that you care about. That you hit some plateau over time of how much you can analyze your own data. You need to bring the rest of the world in for context, for additional analytics, and so we almost want to remove that barrier that there's almost any difference. Most of our solutions end up being hosted, but we're exploring what internally deployed solutions can look like. As I mentioned, kind of IronFan supports OpenStack and things like this. I'd say the key for us in our philosophy was first to get the data adjacent. That's what it comes to play when you're talking about just getting two databases that contain data sets that might be close to each other in context. Just get them next to each other and be able to manage with them within something coherent, and then focus on the schema kind of technology so that they can talk to each other in a related way, and then kind of go from there. So we're working up to...
there is a sort of question about the key value proposition, right? Is it about the management of the complexity in creating a really big data platform, or is it in augmenting all these data sources? How do you think people perceive, when you describe the service?
Sure.
What is the sort of secret sauce? What's the meat of it, if you will?
Sure. So to build up, first is in the management, so we relieve that ops burden for you. So you're not dealing with the kind of operational concerns of how to keep an architecture like this going. Second, I believe, builds from domain expertise that will develop over time around use cases. So even in your case, as an agency, you have concerns for a data platform where you have a lot of different projects that come up over time around this client wants this client wants that, and it's always one-off types of things. If you can consolidate those together towards a data platform, you can achieve more profitability, you can achieve more scale in how you deliver those types of solutions. So that's one other kind of key differentiator as we manage these solution sales. And then as well, the data augmentation, I think, comes up as more people in the market have more choices between their data platforms and look for something different, like data augmentation becomes a piece.
How big a role is the data market going to play in your product strategy going forward?
Minimal for the next, I'd say, 12 months. I'd say for sure. It's kind of something we support and keep on going for its ability to help in these types of solutions, but we don't onboard new suppliers or anything like that with any rapidity.
Okay. So the new augmentation sources are primarily just external business deals as opposed to things you're pulling in through the market?
Correct, yeah. I mean, we keep it going, and I think over time, 12 months and beyond, we'll see more of a resurgence of that kind of thing. But the key thing we want to solve today is a distribution channel. Let's have a clear distribution strategy for our data partners so that we can say, look, we host all these data about IP addresses. We want to bring in more data types like that so we can mix that with the kinds of analytics people do in our platform.
On your website, you list that you support MongoDB, MySQL, and HBase. Do you support Postgres? And if you do you support the PostGIS extensions to Postgres? And the reason I ask is that will allow for geospatial association.
No, our geospatial stuff we've done with a mixture of Elasticsearch and HBase is how we've kind of managed some of the tables and polygons we store there, but we don't currently use Postgres. And Flip can tell me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We don't support Postgres today.
He's nodding. Okay.
Cascalog, he says yes. We can do that.
Oh, thumbs up. Thumbs up there. Okay. We have,
Any
we're
other
done.
questions?
We're done.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.